Hi, and welcome to the last Chronicles of Planet Earth. My name is Frank DiMora, and this is the prophecy book that I wrote. It's the latest book, 2010. I wrote this like a lawyer would write a case to bring before a jury to prove that everything that the Bible has to say in prophecy has actually come to pass, and it's happening in our generation. And this is exactly what Jesus said would happen in Matthew 24:7 when he said, "When you shall see all these things, know that it's near, even at the door." When you go to my website, you'll see the front cover, and you'll also see the back cover of the book, and right below it there's a link. Click to the link, and you can download all the information that is in this book. It's loaded with more information that you're ever going to need to know Jesus is exactly who he said. So you can go to my website by going to www.dimoraministry.com, or you can Google me at the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth, and it'll come up. I'm all over the Google at that point. So I'm going to be covering some verses here that have to do with the Psalm 83 war. And after the video, scroll down, you will see a chart of all the names of the nations surrounding Israel or bordering Israel, that the prophecy of Psalm 83 tells us that these nations are going to attack Israel to try to wipe Israel out. So in the case that I'm going to be talking about today, as far as the nations, I'm going to be dealing with the Hezbollah, which is a faction of the Palestinians who are in Gaza, obviously, and then the Lebanese, or Lebanon, which is north of Israel. Now, Psalm 83, as I said, it tells us, it's a forewarning that these nations will attack Israel. And I'm going to show you what's happening now, because the leader of Iran, Ahmadinejad, the president, is in Lebanon today. And this is what it says, I quote, this is from Beirut. "Thousands of cheering Lebanese welcome Iranian President Hamad Ahmadinejad to Lebanon on Wednesday, throwing rose petals and sweets at the motorcade during the visit that underscores the growing power of Tehran and its Lebanese ally, Hezbollah. Ahmadinejad is making his first visit to Lebanon at a time when tensions are mounting between the Hezbollah and Western-backed parties in the government. The growing crisis could bring down the Lebanese unity government, in which both sides share power in a tenuous agreement." Now they're sharing power. You got the Christians and you got the Lebanese there, but you also have now the faction of the Hezbollah, who are the most armed in the region. They're the most powerful because they have the strongest army. And if God shows us that Lebanon is going to attack, then what does that say about the government? Well, after I read it, I would say that the government under, as it stands right now, will probably fall, and that the radical part that is supported by Ahmadinejad from Iran and the Hezbollah will take over, because they are going to attack Israel. There's no doubt about that. It will happen, and in order for that to happen, you have to have Lebanon involved in it, and more than likely you'll see that Lebanon's government will fall to this radical movement supported by Iran. It goes on to say, let me read this again just to make sure. "But the Iranian leader's splashy arrival only exacerbates fears among many Lebanese, particularly Sunnis and Christians, that the Hezbollah and Iran are trying to impose their will on the country and possibly pull Lebanon into a conflict with Israel." So what God wrote about the warning, they're telling us it's coming. Possibly, but it will come, okay? Now I quote, "Ahmadinejad said that he was a friend of all Lebanese, while emphasizing the need to fight Israel." So you have the guy who wants to wipe out Israel in the same area that God tells us in Psalm 83 that they'll come together to counsel and say that we're going to wipe Israel out as a nation. Does that sound familiar? It's identical to what is happening now compared to what Jesus and the prophet told us. So Let me go on. It says Hezbollah boasts widespread support among the Shiites, virtually runs a state within a state in Shiite areas, and has the country's strongest armed force. Iran funds Hezbollah to the tune of millions of dollars a year and is believed to supply much of the arsenal. Now, in my book, I give you all the details about supporting the Lebanese, how Iran is supporting, and how the arms are moving into Syria. They're making their way down into Lebanon, and a lot of these missile rockets are going into the Gaza, where the Hezbollah are, as well as with the PLO. Now let me tie in two other scriptures. This is Isaiah 17:1 and Jeremiah 49. Chapter 49, verses 24 through 27. Isaiah 17:1 is an oracle concerning Damascus. See, Damascus will no longer be a city, but become a heap of ruins. In other words, Damascus, which is in Syria. I'm going to add Syria into this context. Syria is going to be wiped out, just obliterated. Jeremiah tells us Damascus has become feeble. She has turned to flee, and panic has gripped her. Anguish and pain have seized her, pain like that of a woman in labor. Why has the city of renown not been abandoned, the town in which I delight? Surely her young men will fall in the streets. All her soldiers will be silenced in that day. I mean, it says all of them. Declares the Lord Almighty, I will set a fire on the walls of Damascus. It will consume the fortress of Benadad. Now, when is this supposed to happen? Well, according to Paul in 1 Thessalonians, there's going to be sudden destruction will come while they're talking peace and safety. Obviously, they're in Israel now talking peace and safety. The peace and safety talks are actually stalled. They're trying to get them going again, but more than likely it's not going to happen. And just as Paul warned, while they're still talking peace and safety, the destruction's coming. But take a look at what he says in Psalm 14 or 83, verse 14 through 16. It says, as fire consumes the forest and the flame sets on the mountains. Now, when you read the scriptures from Jeremiah, you'll see that there is flames that were going to be coming down on Damascus to consume Damascus. I will set fire on the walls of Damascus. Okay? So what's going to happen here is you're going to have the antagonistic, the Iranian antagonizing the Middle East, causing these nations to become more aggressive. They will attack the Hezbollah, the Lebanese, the Syrians, and Israel is going to respond swiftly. They're going to go up and they are going to decimate, and it with fire. Now, whether it's a limited nuclear, whether it's whatever it is, we know that it's going to be a fire, and this fire is going to show that God is the Almighty, because Israel is going to actually win this battle. They will be outnumbered again, just like they were in 1967, just like they were in 1973. But God is behind them, and they are not going to lose this war. Now, Ahmadinejad from Iran is not going to physically be there. He's going to be back in Iran. And what will happen is after this war is completed, he's going to get so ticked off, and the rest of the world is going to get so ticked off, because Zechariah 12:3 tells us that the whole world is going to come against Israel. And so there's going to be another battle. Russia will take Iran, Turkey, and some of the other nations that are in my book. You could read the chapter on that. They're going to make another assault on Israel, try to defeat them. And that battle is also going to be won because God intervenes in that war too. So we see all the different things taking place, and it's happening now. This is a prelude to that war, and I believe it's going to happen very, very shortly. So pay attention to what the Lord has to say.